friends are having a great time. It's not face to face, it's all online. We're all in our homes, miles away. Love them like my family, what can I say? My crafting show is on, it's my time for me. Laughter, tips and tricks, this is what I need. We're here to have fun, we're all in the zone. When crafting with friends, you're never alone. Don't call or text me, it's about to begin. I've been patient, time for me to chime in. Comfy clothes on, feeling just fine. I'm busy right now, it's crafting show time. My crafting show is on, it's my time for me. Laughter, tips and tricks, this is what I need. We're here to have fun, we're all in the zone. When crafting with friends, you're never alone. The host came on, they are truly a gem. Here for the show and to chat with my friends. Chat with each other about this and that. We share ideas, wisdom and other fun facts. My crafting show is on, it's my time for me. Laughter, tips and tricks, this is what I...
Live from the Sunshine State in Miami, Florida, here is the Gifted Crafters Morning Show with Nancy.
Let's have a good time. Ooh, time to get our craft on. Ooh, time to have fun. Ooh, time to feel good.
Good morning, Gifted Crafters, and welcome to the Gifted Crafters Morning Show. Good morning out there. Oh boy, people already talking about the weather. Yes, very, very hot and stormy and just everything out there. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. And I see we've got people from all over the place. Some Michigans in the house there. Got a couple of them there. We've got Maryland. We've got Alabama. Maryland again. San Antonio, Texas. Tennessee. Awesome. Texas. Awesome. Awesome. Well, good morning to you all. And good morning. Alrighty, so I think everyone is chatting away there. I think we're very chatty today. That's awesome. Awesome. You missed when you ran out for the mailbox. You missed to say hello to everyone. Well, hello to you, Heather. Alrighty, we got Barbara, Robin, Jenny, Annette, Becky. Good morning. Bettina, Flo. We've got everybody from all over the place. Ohio and North Carolina joins as well. Alrighty, good morning. So it is Happy Tuesday. It's Bettina's anniversary. Oh, wow. I didn't catch that. Well, happy anniversary, Bettina. And there's my folks from Canada. Good morning to you as well. Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. I truly appreciate all of your support. And we're going to have some fun today. If you are a newbie or just maybe catching the replay, go ahead and give it a thumbs up if you like the content, because it really does help the channel. And if you're tuning in for the first time, let me introduce myself. My name is Nancy with GiftsHQ, and we host these daily sessions to just kind of keep crafting alive, right? We like to talk about all kinds of crafts, from sewing, embroidery, and just so much more. We cover it all here on this channel, and we share all kinds of tips, tricks, and ideas. And in the event that maybe you have a little craft store or an Etsy shop or something like that, this is definitely the perfect place, because we like to share all kinds of ideas and give you little tips on something that maybe you can sell, or maybe you're just looking for a quick little gift for a friend. We can help you out with that too. So go into the chat and say hello to everyone. And, you know, we've got a really nice little community that we help you out with any little issues that you have, or we can provide all kinds of ideas for any upcoming events. So I hope you guys enjoy this hour. We do a couple of different segments here, and we've got a lot to talk about. But before we do, go ahead and grab that favorite drink, get into your comfy spot, and let's get nice and comfy and cozy here. So I've got my water again today. I'm back to my water, you know, got off for a day, but I got to go back to my water, you know, water every day. Stay hydrated, especially in this heat, right? So now that we've got our little drink, let's go grab our snacks. So I think today we're going to do the food cart, because we got to do some walking every now and then, right? So we've got our food cart coming down the line. There it goes. Everything is free, and we have everything for you. All kinds of stuff. Everything that's on the food truck is on the food cart as well. We just kind of organized it very well. So we've got coffee, tea, donuts. We've got muffins. We've got some soda and croissants. And don't forget the kale and carrots for those healthy folks that are out there. So go ahead and feel free to grab yourself a snack, get yourself all settled down and ready to go. Now, I'm going to give one more little drink here. So a toast to you all this morning. And let me grab myself a sip. Okay, grab myself 2 sips there. All righty. Oh, awesome. We've got simple Seasters on Etsy. Oh, awesome. Yes, please go ahead and put your Etsy shop names on there. Let people know who you are and what you sell and all kinds of stuff, and share information, because we like to support each other. So go ahead and put your information in the chat, because that's great for us to kind of, you know, mingle with each other and help each other out. Alrighty, so what are we doing today? So we are finishing up our Haunting Autumn quilt scene. And this was, again, the design from Urban Designs. We are finishing this up today. Oh, Flo got a carrot cake muffin. Oh, yes, that'll be great with your coffee. Enjoy. And so we're going to finish up our Haunting Autumn scene. We've already been working through this. We already embroidered. This is an embroidery project. It's 6 different tiles that you put together to form the panel. I did it on my Brother SC1900 and on a 5x7 hoop. So it doesn't require a big, large hoop to do this project, and it comes out really beautiful. So we have already embroidered all 6 panels, and we cut them out yesterday. We cut them down to size, and the size that I actually used was 4.85 inches. That'll fit in my 5x7 hoop. And so it was on sale. Not sure if it still is. They were having a 70% off on their website. And I got this for $10.77. So not sure if that sale is still going on, but definitely you can still get the design there if you are looking to do that. And it's got the little nice Halloween autumn type scene, which is pretty cool. And so let's lay those out here. And I'll let you guys kind of see what those look like. If you recall here, this is what we had cut out. And I think this goes on this side. Did I get that right? Yeah, okay. So this is what the scene kind of looks like. And it's, of course, a Halloween slash pumpkin scene. Let me move this down here so you can see that top. We've got the cute little owl here, some butterflies, a nice little deer, and some really beautiful pumpkins on the end. This is all made just with regular thread. It's not metallic thread or anything like that. The only thing different that we did on ours is we went ahead and we embroidered this on faux leather. And so we had a nice discussion on the faux leather, different types of faux leather, and what you should use when you're dealing with faux leather. So if you missed that, go ahead and kind of catch the last couple of days that we've been working on this, and you'll get some lots of little tips on that one. Okay, so what we're going to do today is start piecing this together, and we're going to go ahead and do that. But before we do that, let's go to our segment first, because we've got some crafting news to tell you about. So I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way here. So let's go over to our crafting news area. Here we go. Alrighty, so we're going to go over to New York, to Casanova, New York. And this July, I want you to mark your calendars if you're in that area. There's a quilt show that you definitely don't want to miss. Now, the Towpath Quilt Guild is hosting a big biennial show called Along the Towpath. It's on July the 11th and July the 12th at the local Casanova High School, and they'll be showcasing about 150 quilts. They're all stitched by guild members, and they also include some challenge quilts that were made for the same pattern, but with each quilter's own creative spin. So that should be pretty interesting. Now, there's 2 special exhibits that are happening at the time as well. They're going to make this show a little extra heartwarming. Now, one honors Freddie Moran, who's a colorful quilting legend known for saying red is a neutral. And guild members created joyful face quilts in her style, each paired with a fun poem. Now, face quilts are pretty interesting if you haven't seen them. That would be a great, just to go and see that would be absolutely awesome. The second exhibit is a 1935 friendship quilt that unexpectedly connected a woman in London with a quilting community in Casanova, and she'll be bringing the antique quilt to the show, which is amazing, from 1935. That's pretty cool. Now, they're going to have all kinds of other things. They're going to have live demos, handmade goods, raffle baskets, quilt shop vendors, and even scissor sharpening. Gotta love that, right? Bring your scissors. Best of all, the Guild uses events like this to give back. This year alone, they've donated about 100 quilts and 500 baby items to the Ronald McDonald House. So, nice little event going on. So if you're in that area, go ahead and try to catch that. And now let's move over to Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, where that may be a place worth stopping by. They're going to have Gallery 255 at the Public Library for Union County, and they're going to be showcasing their colorful quilt artwork of fiber artist by the name of Sharon Copel. And her quilts don't follow different patterns. She sews straight from the heart, which is pretty cool. She lets color and movement guide her as she creates each piece. She had started sewing when she was little, and she was inspired by her grandmother, who was a dressmaker. Now, when she began, she started off doing doll clothes, tiny purses, and she has grown into some bold, abstract quilts that look like paintings rather than patchwork. I mean, it's really amazing. So I think that is just really cool. She doesn't draw any of her designs ahead of time. Everything that she does, she just starts sewing, and what kind of comes to her is what she does. So I think that's pretty cool. So, some quilts don't work out for her, but some do. And that's pretty amazing that she does that kind of just on the fly with no patterns. I think that's pretty cool. Oh, Krista said she's met Freddie several times over the years. Awesome. Jean Embry has taken over doing classes in the faces across the country. Oh, that must be amazing. I mean, gosh, can you imagine just doing that? Just like that with no patterns? That's just, wow. That's pretty cool. Alrighty, so that's what we've got for our crafting news. And so let's go over to our project, because we've got a lot to stitch out today, and I want to make sure that I get this done within the hour, because we want to see the finished quilt. So I went ahead let me drag my little sewing machine over here. I went ahead and I put in some black thread and some bobbin. So I went ahead and kind of did a little bobbin with black as well, because I don't want to use white thread on the faux leather, because obviously you don't want that to show. But I would like to kind of keep this right here in front of me to make sure I sew the right panels together, right? So we are going to just go ahead, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sewing the panels across, and then we will put the two together. So let's grab the owl and the spider, which are the two top ones here. I'm going to just grab that. Let me find it. So here's the owl. I just have to find the tree with the spider, and here it is. And we've already cut this out, and we left a generous border all the way around. I believe, and I'm kind of remembering what we did yesterday, we did 1.5 inches of a border all the way around our embroidery here. Now the embroidery itself measures at almost 5 inches. It's 4.85 was the size that's listed on the site. That's the one that I selected for my 5x7 hoop. Obviously, if you have a bigger hoop, you can make a much bigger panel. But I went ahead and did this one. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just put these right sides together. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch these. And I'm going to be using my roller foot. Now, there's 2 different feet that are available that you can use. I'm using a roller foot, but you can also use what's called a non-stick foot, or some people call it a Teflon foot. You know, it looks similar to this. So it's not the silver ones. It looks like a beige white type of foot. And this is to help things move around, and it has this non-slip surface, or the slippy surface, so that you can kind of guide things through it and it doesn't get hung up here. So if you have this foot, you can use this one. If not, you can use the roller foot. Either one will give you the same result. I do like the roller foot a lot. This is kind of something new that I've been exploring. It's in my kit for Madame Sew, and that's the one that's got the 32 presser feet here. And this one is one of the ones that are in there. It's number 7, and they call it the roller foot. And I really like it. I really like that it mimics the walking foot, where it kind of helps. The feet dogs on the bottom are pulling the fabric on your machine, but the roller foot really helps to kind of guide the fabric as well. It's not really pulling it, but it's kind of rolling it. So it's really allowing it to kind of help keep it together and avoid things getting all slippery in there. So this specific foot is for this type of fabric, and it works really well. So I'm going to go ahead and use that for this. Now let me go ahead and line this up. We've got this here all ready to go. And so I've got them right sides together. And I'm going to use my clips. I've got some big clips and I've got some little clips. So I'm going to grab my little ones here. Just grab a whole bunch here. And I'm just going to clip them just so it doesn't move around on me. And I'm just going to clip it around. Kind of do one on each side at least. Preferably would like 2, but I'll go with 1. And I think that's good. Move these over to the side. So I'm going to lift up my presser foot here, and I've got thread here. I'm going to go to the back, and I want to go ahead and line this up. Now I'm going to line this up against my my foot here. That's going to give me about 1/4 inch. Let me just check here, because it is a new foot that I'm using. It's actually a little bit more. So I'm going to move just a tad over. Maybe on the inside of that foot. That's about right, and I think that will work. So let me grab my foot here. Got all these cords. Need to make sure that I do not disconnect anything. Okay. So again, I'm using the roller foot. I have my stitch length at 3. That's what I'm going to be using. You can do between 3 or 3.5 since you are using this type of material, the faux leather. You definitely want that. You can move, yeah, I can move my needle, but I'm going to keep it over to, that's my center here. So I like to kind of keep it here in the center. I think that will work. This machine allows me to move my needle over to the left and to the middle. It doesn't have the option to move it to the right. Can you believe that? But it doesn't. But that's okay, because then usually I would just move this over. So that's fine. I'm just going to line it up here on this edge here and try to keep that straight and then bring that all the way down. And as long as we do that consistently with all of the panels, we should be fine. So let's go ahead and drop that needle and we'll go ahead and get started here. Alrighty. Oh, and you guys can see everything okay, right? Let me do one thing. I forgot to turn our little light on. That makes it just a little bit better. Okay. Here we go. And let's just double check here. I want to make sure. Yeah, looks like it's going fine. Okay. Let's lift up the needle and let's cut our threads, shall we? And we'll take a look at what we've done here. I'm going to grab my snips. Cut the threads. And I'm going to remove all the other pins that or clips that I have on here. Not pins. We're not using pins. And here we are. Okay. Not sure. I'm going to kind of finger press this down a bit. And we're going to be trimming things up and doing that all the way around. But what I'm going to stop and do here, let me move this over just a tad more. Got my papers kind of going with it, so let me move this out of the way. I just want to make sure that my panels are lined up. Not too bad. A little tiny bit off right in the beginning, but not too bad. You can see that. I'm not sure if you guys could see that here. Let me measure the top. So when you're doing things like panels, just to make sure that they're going okay, you want to stop and measure in between at different points, because if you keep going thinking that you're okay and then you've sewn the whole thing and then you're off, and if one is off, the rest are going to be off. So you want to just kind of be careful and stop, take out your ruler and just line them up just to see if they are lined up going across, which they are. Maybe a little bit of a hair off, but not bad at all. So I'm okay with that. So we've got just our first two here, and then what I'm going to do, this does have kind of a lot of bulk. I'm deciding if I'm going to press this open here just to kind of reduce the bulk, or you can leave it to the side. We'll have to see how it goes. I'm going to just kind of leave that like that, because when we start kind of putting the rows together, I would really like to nest the seams together to put them together. So kind of like that idea better. So we'll see what happens. So we've got one down here. We've got another two to go. Let me just make sure I'm grabbing the right one. I don't want to sew the wrong two panels together. So now we're going to grab the butterfly and the deer. So we'll look for those two. Okay. And let me just make sure I'm putting it on the right side here. Okay, so these two will go together. So we're going to be sewing this side right here. Let's line these up. And I'm going to go ahead and put my clips on. There we go. And one more here. And I won't put any clips on the side that we're sewing. That way I know that's the side I need to sew. So let's move this out of the way. I'm going to put my ruler back here and bring back my sewing machine. Okay. And here we go. Back at the sewing machine. Again, raising that presser foot. And now I need to try to line it up where I had the other one before, because I don't want my sashing to be off. So I want to line it up again on the edge. I'm kind of using this little bump here as my guide and trying to keep it right on that. And so let me grab my foot here. And so we'll go ahead and bring down that needle, and then we'll go ahead and sew that nice and carefully. And if you have to stop and kind of check and adjust, you can do that. Okay? You can go slow. You don't have to go fast. You are dealing with faux leather. So I want to make sure that this is actually staying together here. It's kind of shifting just a little bit. So I'm a little worried there, but we'll see what happens. Keep going. See, I'm a fast sewer, so I like to kind of put the metal to the pedal right there, right? So I don't know if you guys are a fast sewer or a slow sewer. I tend to just kind of zip right through it, and then, you know, if there's a mistake, I'll go back and fix it. But my foot tends to kind of hit that pedal, and I have a hard time with that. Hey, Judy, how are you? Hello, hello, and thanks for joining. Judy's kind of been MIA for a while there, but I'm glad you're here now. Awesome. Oh, Krista says your local Dollar Tree didn't have the faux leather. Oh, but the vinyls were for $1. Ooh, okay. Yeah, the faux leather, you have to keep checking, because I actually went when I was with my mom, you know, I was taking her around to all the stores, and we went to her local Dollar Tree, and when they have them, stock up, because it's, you know, they don't have them all the time. It's like it comes and goes at the Dollar Tree. So they do get them in, but I think everybody buys them up so fast, you know. So when you see them, you know, stock up in all the colors that you like, because sometimes they have them and then they won't have them for a while, and then they'll bring it back again. But you can also check their website too. Not sure if they have it on their website, but check their website. They have a lot of the crafting stuff on there too, and you can just order them as well. And I'm not sure what the minimum is on them. Last time I checked, it wasn't too bad. So you could check there as well. If not, check out like your local craft store or Walmart or Michael's, you know, maybe Hobby Lobby. They may have faux leather out there as well. So you can check that. Alrighty, so we've got our next panel that we've sewn, and I'm going to again grab my little ruler. I want to make sure that my panels are lined up, because I don't want them to be off, right? So it's better for me to kind of look at it this way. Not too bad. Wish it was a little more spot on, but we're like about a hair off, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm fine with that. I am totally fine with that. You can't, when you visually look at it, you can't really see if it's off, right? I think it's good. I think I'm good with that. Okay, so that's going to be the second panel that'll go underneath. And so now let's work on the third one, which are the last two here. And this is this on this side and the pumpkins on the other side. And so right sides together, right? And this is why it's important, you know, if your cutting is off, your sewing can be off because we're doing right sides together and I'm dependent on my cutting to make sure that it is spot on. So that's why it's always good to stop and check, because if it's not, or if your sewing was off, if you take your ruler and you measure it, you know, it's a lot easier to know then before you start putting the whole thing together. So it's always do like little spot checks to check to see that your seam allowances are good or your cutting is good, and you know, so forth. I'm gonna grab another little sip here. Okay, so we're ready to go with our second one. Again, these are the two we gotta sew. This is where we need to sew. Let's put these together and put some clips on here. Turn these all the way around. And we'll sew that up here. Let's bring this over. And I really like the way the roller foot is working. You see how it kind of rolls right on top? I think that's really nice, how it keeps everything together. So now let me line this up again on that little bump and bring my needle down. Hold that in place while I grab my foot and then go ahead and sew this. Okay, no issues anywhere. You see how it doesn't get hung up or anything? It sews really like butter on this thing. It's really great. Okay, let's move this over to the side again. I don't think I cut my threads on this one because I can see it here, so let me cut some threads here with my little snips. And one thing about faux leather, if you make a mistake and you need to go back and undo and sew again, you gotta be a little careful because it will leave the little holes that you make, right, from all the puncturing from the needle. It's gonna be a little difficult, so try your very best not to make a mistake so you don't have to go back and undo, because it can show on there because you're punching little holes, and it's not like fabric that kind of bounces back a little bit. Like this is faux leather, so if you make that hole, it's going to be really difficult to like not see it. So try your best to kind of go slow and just, you know, see if you can go ahead and keep it nice and flat, and try not to make any mistakes on that. Alrighty, so we've got our first. Let me turn this over your way so you guys could see that. I think I'm always going backwards for you. There we are. So we've got our last two together, the middle, and here is the top. And so now we're ready to start joining the rows together. And so we want to try to press these, and I forgot to get my little iron out, but I'll get it out in just a second. And we want to kind of press these over. So I'm going to try to move my seam allowance to one side. I'm going to finger press these down, and then I'm going to have my seam allowance going the other way on the top panel, so that when I join the two together, the two seams, one going this way, one going that way, are going to nest together. And that'll help me to get myself lined up in the center here as I move these along. So this is why I think it was better. Like I had the option of, I could have just sewn 1, 2, 3 together, right? So these column would have been done, and then I would have had to put the two columns together. I could have done it that way. But then I kept thinking, well, if I want to make sure that my squares are going to be lined up, I think it's better that I sew these together, make sure my square is lined up this way, and it's most likely that I'm going to have my squares lining up this way. just fine. So I just thought it would be easier that way. But if you want to do it the other way, you can get your columns lined up and then get your rows lined up. It really doesn't matter. It's just whatever is more comfortable for you. You'll still end up with the same result. And that's making sure that you are checking yourself and that, you know, your squares are lined up and not kind of wonky all over the place, unless you want it to be that way, right? It's your panel. You can do however you like. All right, so let me just grab that really quick. And I'm going to just use my little mini iron. And I will use just my small little ironing board here. Now I do need a kind of pressing cloth, and I kind of have some here that I could use. I've got some fabric. I'm just going to grab that and use that. I've got some scraps here sitting, and that's probably what I'm going to just use. I think that'll be just fine. Okay, so let's get this thing going. Sorry, cords everywhere. Okay, grab this back here. I'm going to uncord my iron. All right, here we go. Pretty long cord, which is what I like about this iron too. I need the long cord. Not a fan of the cordless ones. I know some people love them. I'm just not a fan of, you know, when you take it off, like, it will lose its heat. You know what I mean? It doesn't stay as hot because it's cordless and you're taking it off the base. So the minute you take it off the base, it's starting to cool down. So you don't get 100% of that heat when you're hitting it against your fabric. So I'm not too much of a fan of the cordless, although I really love that it is cordless and, you know, the cords don't get in your way. So you gotta, you know, you have your battles you have to pick, you know. So this is one that I will struggle with the cords, but I like to have the heat of my iron consistent all the way across. Where when you have the cordless irons, it's not consistently, the heat is not consistent all the way across because you're constantly taking it off of the base. And so it loses a little bit of that heat every time it's off the base. So that kind of is not really something that I like. So, all right, so here we are. We've got our first panel here, and faux leather is not a fan to heat. So knowing that, we want to be very careful with that. So of course I am going to press this right side down. So we're pressing on the back of the faux leather, and use a pressing cloth or some kind of fabric, something behind. You don't want to iron directly on there. And the only reason I am ironing this is because I want to try to bring this seam allowance flat as I can, so that I can then nest the seams together to go ahead and sew the other two. So it's already nice and hot, so I'm going to go ahead on my pressing cloth or fabric, whatever it is that you're using. Just go ahead and iron that on top. You're going to try to get this as much as you can, giving a little bit of pressure. There we go. And I got one piece off a little bit, but that's okay. You just grab that little tiny piece and iron just that little corner. Okay. Use my clapper. Yes, you're right, Jackie. I should. Let me grab that really quick. I should have used it right off the bat. There we go. I always forget to take that thing out. Gotta have my little goodies out in the open, otherwise I kind of forget. But yes, my clapper. I've got this little piece off. I'm not going to worry too much about it. It's fine. Okay, and then let's grab, I'm going to put this to the side. I'm going to grab the second piece. Now, this top panel, I went ahead, let me move it this way. And I ironed the seam allowance over to this side. So my right, your left. So I'm going to now iron the seam allowance on this panel to the opposite side. So we're going to do on this side, it's towards the web, the spider web here. On this side, it's going to be towards the deer. And that's going to help us out here. So move this over. First, I like to kind of finger press this a little bit here. And then again, grab my little cloth. Can you guys see that here? Yeah. And just iron right on top with a little bit of pressure. Okay. There we go. And you kind of feel it right on the top that it's already kind of starting to give and kind of relax a little bit. And so just hold on to the clapper a little bit. The clapper will absorb the heat and do its thing. It really helps to make things really crisp. It keeps your seam allowances nice and flat. Okay, see how that's nice and flat there? Love it. Okay, so those are the first two, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the next one. That way I can turn the heat of this iron off. And so we're going to do it over towards the butterfly here. And so I'll flip that over again on the back side, folding it down with my fingers. Grab your pressing cloth or fabric, whatever it is you want to use. Just make sure you use something and you're not ironing directly on it. And then go ahead and press with a little bit of pressure, pushing that seam allowance flat. Nice and flat. There we go. You can kind of feel it with your hand that it has relaxed a little bit. And then, of course, grab your little clapper. There we go. And just hold that down. Okay. There we go. So we've got that in place. I'm going to go ahead and unplug this here. If I can reach the plug without kind of burning myself. There we go. All right. Hang this here. Okay. So we'll keep this off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and take this off, move this over, and keep that off to the side so it can stay nice and cool. Alrighty. We are ready to start putting this together. Let's bring back our sewing machine here. And I'm going to grab the first two panels, which is the owl and the deer with the butterflies. And I am kind of, sorry, you guys can't see that. I am lining this up here. Okay, so I have the two lined up here. And all I'm going to do is flip these so that they're right sides together. All right, so they are facing me here. Flip them over. And what you want to do is you want to nest your seams. So you're looking at your seam allowances, and it's a little hard because it is black faux leather. So it is a little tough, which is why it's nice to kind of do that nesting of the seams with your iron, because you can kind of feel the bump when they're bumping up against each other. And that's why it's nice to kind of nest that. So since it's hard to see it, I'm relying on the feel of it, where I can feel it bumping against each other. And so once I do that, I can kind of take a little peek and see. And I see that this is in place. Uh-oh, I think my Alexa's going off there. Maybe has a message for me. Do I have a delivery? Probably do today. Okay, and then you want to check on the sides. And you want to make sure that they're going to be nice and straight. And then I'm going to grab my clips and I'm going to clip it all the way around because I don't want these to move around on me. Okay. So making sure this is nice and straight. And you want to clip that You can put as many clips as you feel comfortable with. I'm going to leave these open, and I'm just flipping it over, and I'm checking the other side, looking the other way. You want to look at all different angles, just making sure that this is going to be nice and flat. And so I think it's ready to go. I'm going to put it over on my sewing machine and drag that back over. And let me grab my foot here. And we're going to sew these together. Okay. Here's my thread, kind of put it into the back. And I'm going to line it up again. And again, I'm going to use this little tiny bump that I see here, and that's where I am lining this up with. Okay. Go ahead and put my needle down, and let's go ahead. You saw how when we started there, it had a little bit of a issue kind of jump starting it, almost like it needed the leader, but then the roller kind of kicked in and it was able to roll the fabric underneath and it just started. So that's pretty cool. I love that. Now we're getting towards that seam, so I'm going to slow it down. Oh, my little clip got hung up here on the side. Threw me off just a tad, but that's okay. Here we go. Making sure, see how it's kind of wanting to roll up, so I'm going to keep my fingers by it so it stays down. There we go. Just kind of guide it with your hands. Oh, my clips keep getting stuck on here. There we go. Okay. So the cut is slightly off on here, but I think that we've got it. Let's just check to see how this came out here. Okay. I'm going to kind of flatten this out and check the seams here. Okay, not too bad. Could be a little better. I think the clips kind of threw me off a little bit there. I wasn't too happy with that. So I may kind of try to go back and fix that just a little. I think my clip kind of got hung up on the side of my table and it threw me off just a tad. So not too happy about that, but overall doesn't look too bad. It will need a little bit of a press. So we'll do that towards the end. So let's go ahead and attach the last one here. Okay. Remember, we're not aiming for total perfection because, you know, that would be a bit much to ask for me, but I'm totally fine as long as it looks good. There's always ways to fix things, right? Always a way to fix it. All right, I'm going to clip these back here, but now I'm kind of more mindful now because maybe it's the angle that I'm sewing in since I'm not like directly in front. So I'm kind of off to the side. Kind of threw me off a little bit that my clips got hung up on my table, but it's fine. We'll be fine with that. Okay, and I clipped this one just to kind of hold it. Here's my thread. I'm pulling that to the back. And I am lining it up with this piece right here, not this one. Well, let me line that up just a tad more and bring that needle down. Now, when you are sewing, you want to be directly in front of your machine. That's going to give you the best results. I'm kind of crammed for space and I want you guys to be able to see, so I'm a little bit off than what I would normally like to sew in, but I'll take one for the team just to make sure that you guys can see that. Do you ever use a stiletto? I do once in a blue moon. Let me see if I have it out here. So I've got this stiletto here. Once in a blue moon you can. I would not want to use this for this because I think this is a little too pointy for the faux leather and it will probably puncture a hole in it. So I'm not using the stiletto, but I have used it for other projects where it tends to maybe try to like bunch up here like this. When you're trying to sew, it'll start to like bunch up on you. And that's where the stiletto will be good to kind of help move, keep the fabric down as it's going under the needle. I tend to mostly use my hands and my fingers just to hold it down. Sometimes I sew a little bit too loosely where I keep my hands kind of away, which is not a good thing. It's kind of a bad habit I have. And so I have to remember to bring my hands over. And the more control you have of the fabric, the better chance you're going to have of a nice stitch getting exactly and hitting your points. If you are a little bit away from it, it gives the fabric an opportunity to kind of move around and do whatever it wants. Where if you have your hands a little closer, you're able to guide it a little bit better. But using a stiletto does help with that because, I get afraid of keeping my fingers a little too close to that needle. I've seen some horror stories out there. So yeah, it's what you feel comfortable with. Stiletto's a great thing, but for this particular fabric, it would be too pointy and I would be afraid that it's going to puncture a hole. So not going to go there. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave it like this. I am off to the side here a little bit. And let's go ahead and move. And you see how the roller is going. And I forgot to take this clip off, so let's do that. And make sure that we are nice and close. And see how I kind of tend to like to keep my finger one here in the front. Let the fabric flow right underneath it, and it helps to guide it to make sure it stays flat. But then this finger is preventing it from slipping and moving side to side on me. So that's kind of how I like to do it. Now I have already bumped up the seams, so I'm making sure that that hasn't moved. And as it gets closer, I'll stop so you guys can see that. You can see here a little bit where my seams are and how they're bumping up against each other. Okay. You can barely see that, but you can see the two of them are meeting right here. Okay. See if I get my little pointer so that you can see that. See that where it ends right here? And so the two are bumped up against each other. So that's coming out really nicely. Exactly where we want it to be there. And then just kind of go slowly over that little bump, and then it's just going to go down and sew the rest as normal. Let me get rid of some of these clips because they're kind of going on my table there. There we go. And especially towards the end, I have another kind of bad habit that I get. And maybe we can do a kind of an episode of bad habits that we have, right, for sewing. One thing that people tend to do, and I do this myself as well, is right when you get towards the very end, you kind of know that you're finished. And so we're kind of towards the very end and you kind of just, okay, I'm done. And you kind of let go. And sometimes your quarter-inch seam seems to be off right on the very tip because in your head, you're thinking, oh, I'm done. It's going to finish doing its thing. And so you'll see how you kind of can go off just really on the end. So I have to remember to kind of hold on to it until it passes that needle. So how many of you people do that as well? I know I tend to do that because I tend to sew fast and I'm always looking for the next step. And so you have to kind of remind yourself to kind of stay on track until it completely has passed the needle, right? And so sometimes I tend to do that when I try to just, move really fast and I want to get to the next thing. So something to kind of look out for. Alrighty, so here we are. We've got our panels all sewn together. I'm going to give it a little press. And I need to kind of cut some of these threads. Let me do that here. Grab my snips here. Cut some of these threads out. Another thread here. Alrighty. And I'm going to go ahead and I will turn my iron back off because it gets really hot, guys. I'll turn my iron back on here, and while I'm doing that, why don't we move over to the inspirational quote of the day. Alrighty, so we've got our inspirational quote of the day, and today's quote is, "When the pattern is followed with love, the result is always beautiful." Isn't that the truth? Doesn't matter what the pattern is, whether you even have a pattern or not. Maybe you are just, winging it as you go along. So no matter what it is, you're doing it with love, and whoever you are gifting this to, just make sure they're appreciative of it, and they're going to love it no matter what it is. So I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to turn this on its back side again, and let me grab my little cloth here, and once again we're going to put this nice and flat. I'm finger pressing this down. And it's already hot because it was still hot from before. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay this flat. You especially want to pay attention to that middle corner, because that middle corner has a lot of bulk there. There's a ton of bulk going in. You've got all the seams meeting right there. So you want to try to get that to lay flat as much as possible. And so grab to the other side. Finger press this as well, and I'll move my pressing cloth down here. And this is why it's good to kind of keep little scraps of fabrics. There we go. And where is my clapper? You want to kind of use that, hold that down. And just kind of, because this one's kind of long, I've got this longer clapper, so that helps a little bit here. Okay, that's pretty flat. So now let's move over to the other one. We actually may get done on time here. Okay. Let's go ahead and finger press this down. A little bit of pressure, especially on that little corner here. I move this pressing cloth down. A little hot there. There we go. Making sure my seam allowance is going the right way. I get back to that corner and then grab my clapper. And let's try to keep that down. Okay. And that is it. I mean, I may go back and press it one more time, but we're pretty much done. Let's turn this around and see what we got here. Not too bad. I'll probably give it just another press just to bring this down just a little bit more. And you can see here we've got our nice panel ready for Halloween. Now we can decide to do borders and things on it if you want. You can do that, and we need to put something on the back to hang it. But it's definitely good to go. Alrighty, so we are just about out of time. And I know that you guys like to kind of continue your day. We've got all kinds of shows out there, and we're going to be tuning in to Power Tools with Threads in just a little bit. So let's go ahead and finish these up for today, and then tomorrow we'll start on a new project. So I hope you guys had an awesome time and have a fantastic day. And I hope you really liked today's project. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And thank you all for all of your support today. I really appreciate it, and I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye, everyone.
So long for now, so long. Glad you stayed a while. Hope you liked my crafting style. Hope I left you with a smile. crafting. See you tomorrow. So long, my friends, till we craft one.